Tony Crow, Knicks N Bruises, episode 19. Welcome back. I got my guest JT from Australia. Oh man, Australia Knicks fan. How's it going, JT? I appreciate you jumping on.
Hey Tony, pleasure to have me. And I've been a fan of the show, so glad you could make this happen, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. I mean, I appreciate you jumping on. I reached out to you on Twitter and you responded quick. I said, I told you when I'm available and we made it happen. So I appreciate you jumping on. I mean, we could get right into who you are. Your introduction, JT Australia. How long you been a Knicks fan, man? How'd you become a Knicks fan in Australia?
Man, so it started back in '94, I think '93, '94. I was about 8 years old, growing up in Australia, and they would always show the highlights on free to air TV. Um, the time zone wasn't great. I was always falling asleep on the couch, but that team just sort of took my interest. And the bright lights, the garden, Big Pat, the deep playoff runs, and that organ in the garden. It just took my imagination, and I thought, that's my team. I didn't need to think twice about it. You know, and I've been a fan ever since. Been a few games live at the Staples Center, but never made it to the Garden just yet.
Okay.
I was supposed to go in 2017. I think there was a blizzard. I was in LA at the time. I just went to the game there, and then I was about to fly to New York, but there was a blizzard, so I'm still yet to make my Garden visit, but it's going to happen one day.
That sounds like I don't know if it'd be a nick or a bruise, but that sounds like one right there. But yes, we're gonna make you gonna get to the garden, and hopefully we link up there one day. That'd be awesome, man.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I know you guys do the meetup, so yeah, I'll be there one day. For sure. Once all this crazy stuff's over and I can travel. Yeah,
Yes,
especially now that we're a good team. Well, think
yes,
about it, I was traveling all those years when we weren't so good. So
yeah. That's a beautiful change. And speaking of those meetups, shout out to Sim the Podfather. We do have the season opener. We're working on that one. So get ready for the announcement and get your tickets. I would love if you can make it, but I'm sure we'll have more than just that one. But yeah, I mean we could get right into it. I know you've seen the episode, so you know what the show's about. Your Knicks and Bruises over the years. The floor is
yep,
yours.
right. So I'll have to start with first Nick would be at the end of the 54 win season, back in 2012. We had the team just sort of dismantle. J Kidd took up the head coaching position with Brooklyn. I was sort of reinvigorated and used to the team success, and that happened. So that nicked me a bit. Um, Second, what I would say would be a lack of having a point guard for a number of years. That was frustrating me. We've come full circle where I remember when Kemba Walker got drafted out of you know, out of UConn to Charlotte, I think with the 11th pick, and we were in dire need of a point guard back then, and I just kept thinking, when are we going to get someone of that level?
Mhm.
And it's been 10 years since, and we landed that Kemba Walker. So yeah, and then my third nick would be the fact that the Garden was always the playground for opposing team, you know oppose opposing team star. Um, I wanted it all to be about the Knicks, but it was always about how much is this guy going to put up? And we weren't the strong team, so that always cut me. Um, Now Bruises gets a little bit deeper. Um, I'll go back to the 2000 finals team. Um, Such a magical run. We had some injuries. I really, really wanted to beat San Antonio, cap off that fairy tale season. But the fact that Pat went down and LJ was injured, I just knew, just seeing San Antonio beat us, that really hurt. Took me a while to get over. Um, my second bruise is now. Let me just had some notes. Yeah, so
Oh,
my second. You got me?
there we go. Yeah, I got you. I thought I lost you for a second.
Yeah, my second bruise was the Chicago Bulls series. I think 96 or 97. We went up 2-0 in that series. And I thought that this is our time, you know, and then it just didn't happen. We blew away that lead, and MJ took over. And I just remember every single year tuning in, wanting to be the year. We'd take it to the Bulls, and it didn't happen. And my third bruise would be the Amari Stoudemire few years, and the fact that team just wasn't constructed well. Some of the moves with amnestying Billups and signing Chandler, and the fact that Amari's knees just gave way. I thought that was just a wasted few years. Appreciate Melo coming and giving us everything he had, but I just felt like it. I look at it like the whole Stoudemire era, because he really started it all. He came first. Melo came next, and I think Amari just wasn't able to finish that off, in a positive way. And it wasn't all his fault, but it just left a sour taste in my mouth.
I'm glad I didn't cut you off because you clarified when you said Amari definitely started it all. You gotta give him that credit he deserves. And the injuries are unforeseen, so I don't necessarily blame him for for getting hurt. So my question was gonna be: is it the Stoudemire era, or just like was you blaming Stoudemire, or was it just like the fact that things didn't work out? We got a lot of tough breaks. Um, and I thought you was gonna go specifically with the fire hydrant incident, because that was something he self inflicted, and it hurt us. But you saying the era under which Stoudemire was there.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely don't blame Amari. I was the fact that he chose to come here, and yeah, you can talk about the uninsured contract and the salary and all of that, but still, he had options still, and you know, the fact that he took on New York and made us relevant again. I never hate on Amari for that. Yeah, it was the whole era, and just you know, some of the moves the front office made, and Melo, forcing his way. It just the whole thing just really didn't sit right. Then they were trying to get CP3, and they went for Chandler instead. They amnestied Billups, which I didn't
That
think
was
was
dumb.
necessary.
Dumb. I hated that move. You don't amnesty a guy with 1 year left on his contract. You know what I mean? Like that made no sense to me, especially when it was a good class. Coming up the following year, I did not understand that move. Um, you know, Me personally, as far as a bruise, I mean, I think it got worse. Once after Stoudemire, when when he was gone, it actually got worse for us, which is pretty amazing that
Yeah,
it,
that's
it can
another.
even get worse. What's your thoughts on the whole Phil Jackson era?
Yeah, you're right. It definitely got worse, but we didn't predict that at the time. We thought, Melo still has a few great years left. Let's see what we can do. We can build around that. But no one really wanted to come at that point. And then Phil had his own ideas. You're stuck in the dinosaur sort of way. Um, was a great coach, but never had any track record of building a team. Tried to
Yeah,
force players into to play this certain way. Play a role. Um, you've got to be adaptable to the players you bring in. Um, and he sort of favoured unathletic players. Because the triangle doesn't really rely on athleticism.
yeah.
And you look at the athletes we have now and the way the game's going. You got 6'10" point forwards and like Greek Freak and things like that. I mean, it just shows Phil's way of trying to win in the NBA. It was left in the Stone Age.
And my stance immediately, and then it got stronger as time went on, was just come down and coach. You know what I mean? I don't care if you step down or you did both, but if you're gonna be that hands on and that picky with who you're picking to coach and the type of players you want, and even the coaches you pick, you weren't really giving them the freedom to do to be their own guy. Just come down and coach. You know what I mean? And I'll live with those results rather than it seemed like self sabotage time after time after time. I think that might be the worst era for me personally. That's like that's definitely up there with my biggest
That's
bruises.
one of your bruises, yeah. Because
Yeah.
the thing, yeah, for the one of the reasons that really hurts me as a fan is when we were a laughing stock. You know, I only, going back to when I started being a fan, we were at the top of the mountain, sort of, well respected franchise player, deep playoff run every year. For me to be 30 years old and then seeing a team be a laughing stock, um, you know, it was hard to absorb. And we're paying for that. $60 million for Phil. I mean, I had high hopes when Phil was appointed. Remember, we were at that point where there was protests about to happen, and you know, Dolan had to make a move, and then when the news came out that Phil was coming on, I thought, here we go, something good's going to happen. Did you feel optimistic when Phil was hired?
um, a little bit, but not much. Um, because I remember the buzz around that time, or right before. I think there was like a protest that was being assembled, and I think it would have taken place the day after Phil was hired, and that might have stopped that whole protest. It was like a James Dolan sell the team type protest. So I think like that was the only good or the initial good from the hire, because I thought it stopped that from going on. Um, and then as a Knicks fan, I'm always gonna root for my team, whatever the move is. But deep inside, I strongly felt if he's not coaching, I don't see how it's gonna help us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I always had that optimism. Like Fisher, I'm like, all right, well, at least he brought in. He's not coaching, but he brought in a guy that he's coached and knows the triangle. So that should be good enough to where they can mesh. But it seemed like they were bumping heads, and then and then Fisher with behind the scenes things was going on. So it got tough, man. It got real tough real fast, and it didn't seem like anything was helping. Everything that came out, it was always like negative, uh, behind the scenes, or talking to the media rather than the player, or things of that nature. That I'm like, this is gonna get real ugly, real fast.
Yeah,
So
I think
yeah, I wasn't a fan of Phil here.
yeah, yeah, I think the struggle was making modern players believe in a system that he wants to be used 100% of the time. I mean, I don't see any team using one strategy 100% of the time. They might sprinkle in some triangle. They might try a
Yeah,
few different wrinkles, but Phil was like dead set. Triangle 100% of the time, and trying to convince players to do that. That was a failure straight away. Um,
yeah.
and then I think we don't even touch on the Steve Kerr thing. Had he managed to get Steve Kerr signed, something could have gone a bit different. You know,
That yeah. That would have. I mean, you know what? At the time, and even as Steve Kerr won, I did think that, but the more time spent with Phil Jackson, I started to think that might not have worked either. Because one, if he had whatever issues he had with Fisher, and Fisher not being able to implement some of his own things, and adapt the triangle to modern times, and things of that nature. I, and as outspoken a person that Kerr is, I don't know how that would have worked. You know what I mean? At some point, if Kerr felt disrespected, he would have spoken out on it, and probably spoken out on it publicly. So I don't know if that would have even worked because of the chemistry between the two. But I mean, at the time, yeah, I definitely wanted Kerr more, and when Kerr won, I definitely was thinking, man, we could have had this guy.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
definitely
We've got a few
definitely
people in the chat, so salute to you.
yeah, you got some fans out there. Tricky Nicky,
Uh,
salute.
they're here for you.
Hey man, I'm seeing your name out here, man. Look,
Yeah.
miss you, CT, so much. I mean, that's a
Salute,
that's a
Tricky.
that's a that's a great segue. Salute to the chat for sure. Um, that is a great segue into some what do you got working on? Where people can find you? What's going on in the future, the near future?
Yeah, so after being a part of the community for a while now, and joining everyone's show, I decided to launch a channel. Um, which I've got a live stream scheduled later this week. Um, it may be pushed back to the weekend, but I'll see how it goes. But yeah, basically my plan is to summarize what's going on in the community with the Knicks. Um, not to compete with anyone, but to just offer another show, another platform for us to chop it up. And yeah, I'm on Twitter. The streets are buzzing. Knicks Buzz is the name of the show. Um, yeah, man, I'm happy to be part of this growing community, and especially for people down in the Southern Hemisphere in my time zone. Um, living in Australia, I'd love to be a part of some more shows as well, but it's tough with the time zones as well. So I plan on catering for US and local time as well.
And salute to you for that, man. Um, Speaking of which, I did put the link in the description, so you guys could go ahead and click that. Subscribe early, subscribe now, leave a comment now, share it now. All that good stuff that the YouTubers are supposed to say. But I'm glad for you. I'm happy to see I wish you nothing but success in that. I hope I could jump on there and we could do something over there as well. Um,
Yeah, you know it for sure. You know,
so,
um,
so
yeah, and appreciate you having me on as well. You know, on your growing
no,
platform, you've had some amazing guests. So, I can't hold
thank
a
you.
candle to them, but I can only tell my story, and also love to hear your insight. I've been a huge fan. Watching you on Nothing But Knicks, and
Salute.
salute to Sim. For creating this all, and for you to have the passion to start your own Knicks and Bruises channel. It's a great idea, great concept, and you
I
keep it
appreciate it.
real.
I mean, I try, and like I always try to say in the beginning, this platform was really not even about me. It's really about the guests. It's about your personal experience as a Knicks fan. Um, when I reached out, I was reaching out off of the Twitter name. I'm familiar with who you are, but I didn't know that was you. So when I found out it was, and having someone all the way from Australia, that still amazes me, that Knicks fans are worldwide for real. And it's a pleasure to actually reach that far, and have somebody who watches my show, and likes my takes, and yeah, even if you don't, I'm okay with that as well. We could agree to disagree. We could give each other insight. But before we go, I definitely, I never want to end on a negative note. So we do Knicks and Bruises. We always got to talk about the new regime. What's going on currently with the Knicks. Positive vibes always. So Knicks fan, Knicks vibes only. But what's your thoughts of? I just go off the head and ask a few questions about the current regime. Obviously, we got to be pleased with the turnaround from what we've been accustomed to the past. You said 94, so what's that? 30 years. Um,
Yeah,
what's your thoughts on the current this past off season? Let's start there. What was your thoughts? And without giving away too much of what you're going to talk about, or your first episode, so so
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I don't want you to waste your content. Well, what's your thoughts on the off season, the acquisitions, who we lost, who we signed, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll save my overall reaction towards the end, but I'll start by saying I was a little bit surprised actually that their first move was to lock everyone who's returning up first. I didn't expect that. I expected them to try and land a few big fishes first, spend their money where they wanted to with them, and then try to lock up um, the returning players and showing their appreciation for what they did last season. But it quickly became clear what their strategy was when they started. We started hearing the announcement of D Rose, Noel, Burke signing up. It became clear that they really valued the continuity that they provided, and they performed as well. And it also showed me that they weren't too perturbed by what happened in the playoffs. They still valued that continuity and what we did in the regular season. Um, so I thought that was a really solid move. I wasn't wowed, but I was like, okay, that's solid. Something to root for again. Continuity. Then when we started to hear, the Fournier signing, I think Fournier came first. I thought, okay, wasn't mad at it. I thought, I could see what he provides and what he gives us over what Reggie Bullock gave us, and that was some shot creating and shot well from the three as well. I didn't really watch him much with Boston, but he was someone I was wanting us to go after at the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
I was really wanting us to make one more upgrade at the trade deadline because I thought we had it in us to make it to the second round. but yeah, when they signed Fournier, yeah, I was all on board. And then where things really took off for me was the Kemba move. And then I remember going to sleep, local time in Australia, thinking there was talk about Kendrick Nunn, and weren't they going to offer the bag to Dennis Schroeder? And I just thought, oh, okay, I'm happy with the moves we've done so far, but I don't want us to do anything silly. I just want us to get another point guard if we can. Then I woke up to all these notifications and everything, Woj bombs and, Kemba Walker's getting a buyout, signing with the Knicks straight away. I'm like, man, this is what I've dreamed of. A player getting like a quality player getting bought out, and then they're already saying he'll sign with the Knicks. For forever and a day, it was like this player's getting bought out and he's signing with the LA Lakers or he's signing with, Brooklyn Nets.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was happy with that, a sense of pride, and, the homecoming story was, a great story. And then the next big domino was the Julius Randle deal. To me, that could be the biggest move. That just set everything up. That was another surprise to me. I didn't expect him to take that deal. I thought maybe they'll play out another season, but clearly he was happy with what they got going on. So he was bought in, and that's credit to the team, credit to the front office. Yeah. So overall for me, I'm super excited. I haven't been this excited before a season for a very long time. And for any Knick fan that's sort of not sure, it's okay to be excited because we're going to have a good team.
When they signed when they extended Julius Randle, the first thing that came to my mind before I even thought about excuse me.
You
It's been a
good?
long day. Yeah, had a yawn. The first thing I thought of was before I thought of if I liked the move or not. It just gave me relief that it took an obstacle off the table. It was something that didn't have to be a question mark during the season. Because there's still some people out there that was like, oh, trade him while you can get value, and there's still some people that was like, oh, how much we gotta pay this guy to, what I mean, next year, how much he's gonna ask for, and so it took a lot of those questions like right off the table. We know he's locked in. We got him for however more years. It's all about focusing in, and that's with the re-signing of bringing guys back, same thing. It was like focus. We like the chemistry. We like what we saw last year. If I had one question, and I'm not questioning, I would have thought they would have re-signed Bullock and maybe let Burks go. So that actually surprised me, and more so because of me personally. I seen the value in Bullock when he went out, when we was missing him during last season. That's when I really saw his value. You know what I mean? And he got better as the season went on. But what do you think? Where do you think we stand defensively? Do you think we will be just as good defensively this year? Because if we're just as good, we don't even got to get better. But if we're just as good defensively, I think we could probably retain that fourth seed, maybe fifth. Oh, I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry. You made a great point, Tony, about the Bullock thing. That also I agree. If you asked me before the off season, who would they bring back? I thought Bullock would be ahead of Burks. So we don't really know what went into that. Maybe Bullock was open for a move, to Dallas. But back to the point was defensively, I think we can. I think we can be as good without Bullock. I don't think Fournier is a negative defender. I think he can hold his own. But I'm looking more at a team defense concept, like Tibbs says. And if we're bringing back a healthy Mitch, who's showed improvement, knows where to be on the floor now. You know, improved in the fouls area of his game. If he can stay on the floor longer, we've sewn up that rim protection, especially with Noel coming back and the athleticism. So I think the goal should be to stay the same defensively. Kemba referred in his press conference about closeouts. He knows how much Tibb values the closeouts. I think that's what our MO was, to leave the shooter a little bit open, to think that they've got an open shot and then close out.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
our concept wasn't really like Einstein, it was just play hard. We gave up a lot of open threes, but we closed out.
I was just about to say that, and it wasn't like we actually got there a lot of times. You know what I mean? But the concept was there. So, and the fact that he hasn't been coached by him yet, but he knows some of the principles. I think that's great. Um, some of the things that I think we, people sleep on. Kemba, he's not the greatest defender because of his size, but I never really seen him become the focal point of the other team's offense, where they want to, where they have to attack him on the defensive end. Um, and he's led the league in charges before. You know what I mean? So he does things. He's been a high steal guy in the league before. He does things defensively where he may not be able to just stop a guy one on one, which is very rare anyway in the NBA. But he has defensive traits that are elite. Um, and people tend to forget that when they analyze his defense. Um, and then Fournier, I think he's a scrappy defender. Another guy that plays passing lanes very well. Um, he's not going to back down defensively. You know what I mean? So effort and IQ, those things can get you to above average defensive level, and I think we have that with both those guys. So I agree. I think the more I think about it as time goes by, I think we are going to be just as good defensively. And if health holds up, I think we could be even better defensively. Because you think about what Noel's did when Mitch went out. I think that's been undervalued. A lot of people thought he got overpaid, and I'm like, I think he proved his worth. You're paying him for what he did. You know what I mean? Not necessarily what he's going to do, because if all things go well, he's not going to have to do the same exact thing. This year, because Mitch is healthier. Maybe he can bring more offensively because he doesn't have to be the focal point defensively. So I mean, I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and I think a lot can be said about the team concept defense with the draft picks we brought in. They'll push the starters to play hard. At the very least, if they don't get minutes, they will. They know what is expected with them coming in with Tibbs as the coach. If they don't play the defense with the effort he requires, then they're going to lose minutes. That's a thing. You don't need to be a Reggie Bullock type defender. If you come in, with an expectation with a veteran starting five, and you're not playing to the level that the team was last year, Tibbs is going to make that clear and say,
Mm-hmm.
this is not acceptable. And these two rookies were brought in. They're picking you up full court. They're ready to be given a lifeline and to see what they can do. So yeah, I think overall our backups are going to really push the starters to play hard. I think that's going to be enough to make us really good defensively.
I agree. I agree. Um, I hate to cut this short, but I do have another guest scheduled. I got to set up with him. But I'm gonna cut that episode short as well, and if you do have time after that episode, I'm gonna have a full panel episode where we could all come in and discuss some points and things of that nature. Um, but CT man,
Yeah,
I appreciate you coming on, man. Um, I definitely, we linked up on Twitter now, so whenever you want me on your show, let me know. I'm definitely willing. Mondays and Wednesdays are the best days for me, but you know, I appreciate you jumping on, man. Shout out to you again. If you want to
mm.
give people the info on where to find you on Twitter, where to find you on YouTube.
Hey, first of all, and I appreciate you for extending the invite. It's an honor to be part of the show. We'll definitely link up. I'd love to have you on my show. And yeah, you can find it on YouTube and Twitter. The streets are buzzing. Knicks Buzz is the show. And yeah, man, I love all the community to jump on, whenever time permits, and we can talk about the season as it evolves. It's like a
Absolutely,
brand new story. We're starting with chapter one again, but we hope for a better ending.
absolutely, a happy ending.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Thanks,
as
Tony.
always, CT, salute to you. Shout out
Salute.
to the chat. Your blackest time, man. I appreciate you. And I'll be back in a few minutes, man, with another guest. So salute.